Alright, this is me. It's Rod. Right off the bat, I want to say if I ever post this or something on anything, I want to say right off the bat, I do not own any of the rights to this. I'm not trying to sell this. I'm not trying to promote it. I'm just showing that this was an awesome, cool, kick ass book when I was a kid. I remember when I first said it. And I've never seen anything so far of anyone doing like a reading of it or something. I've seen like one or two where they show like animated, quote unquote, animated chapters and stuff. So this is just me reading it. And the book is Grandpa's Ghost Stories. I don't know if you can see that too well. By James Flora. Now I'm sure this guy, James Flora, has had like other books. I just don't know of them at the time. So I'm just going to do this reading. This book actually came out, the first printing was actually came out in 1978. But this actual printing is 1979. So it's his second printing. If you know anything about first printing, second printing, like neatness, or that's what you want, the first printing. This is second. I used to have the first one, but I digress. So this is Grandpa's Ghost Stories, and I'm just doing a reading of it. I don't own no rights, all right? So let's get that straight. Grandpa's Ghost Stories by James Flora, an Anthenium book from 1979, New York. I'm going to try to do the voices here and there where I can, but if I don't, I skip them. Sue me. It's just a reading. Crash, grumble, rumble. Thunder cracked the sky and rain rattled the windows. A wolf howled. A tree crashed to the ground. It was terrible. Stormy night outside. Grandpa's house creaked and groaned. Kerblam! A bolt of lightning crashed on the roof. I hopped onto Grandpa's lap. You're shaking like a cat in a room full of rocking chairs, Grandpa said. Don't worry, there's a lightning rod on the roof. You're safe in here. He filled his pipe and lit it. I wonder what was in that pipe. Anyway, just think now how terrible it would be if you were lost in the woods in a storm like this. What would you do then, huh? I don't know, Grandpa. I think I'd just crawl under a log and die, pussy. I'm just kidding. No, you wouldn't, Grandpa said. I know, because when I was your age, it happened to me. I was lost in a forest, but I didn't crawl under a log. No siree. I looked for a safe, dry place. I found one. An old woodcutter's shack, deep in the forest. Can you dig it? The door was open, so I went inside, and that's where I found the bag of old bones. But that's a story too horrible to tell. It might scare the crap out of you. Please, Grandpa, please tell me the story, I beg. Very well. Don't mind if I do. The bag of old bones. There was nothing in that shack, Grandpa said. Not a table, not a chair, not even a lamp or a candle. It was bare except for one thing. A big leather bag sat in one corner. It was covered with dust and tied at the neck with a thick leather thong. After I dried off a bit, I looked at the I took a look at the sack. I could see no marks on it, just some cracks and bulges. Open me, said a hoarse voice. My hair stood on end. The voice came from inside the sack. But you know how you boys are with sacks. They always want to know what's inside. So I opened it. I wish I hadn't. A fearful stench rose from the opening. I held my nose and looked inside. A grinning skull stared up at me. Thank ye kindly, lad, said the skull in the cracked voice. I've been shut in this sack for nigh on to 200 years, and I'm dying for a breath of fresh air. The skull took a deep breath and coughed. I know they could cough, but anyway, he did. Why don't you turn the sack upside down and help me put myself together? Well, I like puzzles, so I turned the sack over. Out spilled bones of all sizes and shapes. The skull cackled and sneezed. I should have known then, but I kept going. There's my neck bone and my shoulder bone. Just hook them together, if you please. Now the arm bones. Good. Good. You're a smart little fella. Now you just fasten my hands to the arm bones. Fine. Great. You're doing great. The arm lifted with a creak and stretched its fingers. I found all the little spine bones and fitted them together. It was a fine puzzle, and I forgot what I was doing up until the feet were fitted to the ankle bones. With a fearsome shriek, the bone jumped up and pranced around the sack. Deedly doodly deedly dee, deedly doodly deedly dee. You have to bear with me. Doodly doodly deedly dee. So he started dancing around. It was horrible. I had never seen a skeleton before, especially one that moved. As soon as I find my teeth, we'll have a bit to eat, said the skeleton. It's been 200 years since I've had a morsel in my mouth. He rooted around the sack until he found his teeth. He popped them in with a frightening grin, his jaws grinning. Now we'll have dinner, he cackled. And the dinner is you. I am going to eat you. He grabbed me by the coat, but I slipped out of it. I ran from the shack so fast I tore the doors off the hinges. I'm serious. I looked back and they were on the ground. Grandpa said, I ran through the forest, bumping into trees and falling over rocks. Behind I could hear the clickety-clack of running bones. Oh, he was fast. I mean, he was fucking a giant skeleton and shit, but he was fast. Just in time, I saw a tiny cave in the hillside. I dove in and covered the door with a big rock. Whew! I was just in time. Outside, I could hear the skeleton clawing at the rock. Clawing at it, trying to get it. I thought I was lucky to be safe in that cave, but I wasn't. I was in worse trouble than ever. I had stumbled into the cave of the warty witch. But that's another story, too terrible to tell. Please tell me, Grandpa, I begged. I like terrible stories. This one is about as terrible as it got, that last one. Very well, I don't mind if I do, said Grandpa, and I will if you just turn the page. I'm waiting. The Cave of the Warty Witch. It was dark in the cave that it was so dark in the cave that I had to feel my face to see if it was still there. It was that dark. Suddenly, a big fiery eye flicked open, then another, and at least a dozen evil yellow eyes were staring at me. It was a frightful sight. Something hard and furry crawled up my leg. I screamed and jumped and stomped down on someone's foot. Ouch, you clumsy beast! A cracked voice screeched. A bony hand slapped my face and smacked me across the cheek. Chills ran up my spine. Was it another skeleton? Kind of felt like it, but I don't think it was. Suddenly, the cave filled with light. There was no nose. There was, nose to nose, staring into my eyes was a witch. And not just any old Blair witch, a better one. She was a mean-looking, fearsome witch, with a witch's hat, a witch's hair, and long, sharp witch's nose, covered with warts. And those eyes, witch's eyes, like slits of fire. She jumped around on her sore foot, squealing at me. Did you see that, children? This beast broke into our happy little home and almost broke my foot. What shall we do with him? I looked around the cave, but I didn't see any children. It was filled with spiders. Huge, sticky, furry spiders with big, squishy mouths full of teeth and God knows what else. They squeaked and leaped out, nipping at my legs and ears. Be our brother, they squeaked, or something like that. One of the witch cackled. They want you to be a spider just like them. Once they were children until they broke into my home, just as you did. Now they're my spider family, and in a jiffy, you will be too. She pulled a wishbone out from her filthy clothes, struck my head with it, and squealed. Bone of wishes, listen to me. Make this boy a spider when I count 3. I don't want to be a spider, I cried. I don't want to be in a pie. I tried to run, but the spiders threw me to the floor. 1, 2, I guess she was counting down. I closed my eyes and shivered. 3! Pwah! Just like that. It was kind of painful, actually. In a flash, I could feel myself changing. My body swelled up, my teeth grew long and sharp. It hurt. My arms disappeared and hairy legs sprouted all over me. It was trippy. I wasn't even a teenager yet. The old witch led me to a mirror. I hardly dared to look. When I did, though, I saw a fearful hairy spider. It was me. I looked exactly like my new brothers and sisters, except they weren't related to me. Now, spin me into a nice strong web. I want to take a nap, said the witch. But I don't know how, I squeaked. Then you had better learn fast. Homie, don't play that. The witch screeched, and she beat me with her fucking broom. I'm sorry, she beat me with her broom. Whack, whack, whack. She was going off. It was a slave driver or something. It was insanity. Oh, it hurt. She almost broke my back. I tried to hide, but the other spiders wouldn't let me. And before I knew it, I was spinning a web. I don't know how I did it. I suppose it's something all spiders know how to do, with, like some kind of web school, even though I never went to a web school. When the web was finished, the witch climbed in and fell fast asleep. The spiders slept on the floor. So did I. And they kept pushing and stuff. I couldn't sleep though. I kept thinking about being a spider for the rest of my life. Crawling around this cold, dark cave, eating bugs and flies, and it made me cry. I mean, who wants to eat bugs and flies, right? Suddenly, through my tears, I saw the witch's arm hanging from her cobweb bed. The wishbone was in her hand. I grabbed it and said, "Bone of wishes, listen to me. Make the spider a boy when I count 3. 1, 2, 3. I was a boy again, and I ran deep into the cave. Behind I could hear squeals and clicking claws as the spider scuttled after me. The witch was screaming. Lights were flashing. In the nick of time, I saw a hole at the end of the cave. I dove in like some action hero. It was too small. My body got stuck tight while my legs dangled in the caves. I shut my eyes, waiting for a big spider mouth to bite them off, all like Walking Dead style. Then a hand grabbed my hair and pulled me out of the cave. Oh my, that was close. I panted. You saved my life. See, it was stuck like that. But then, it was dark and stormy. It was so dark and stormy that I couldn't see who had yanked me from the cave. Then, by the next flash of light, I saw that it was nobody. Just a big, cold, bony hand with no body. I got goosebumps. The hand squeezed me tight and soared off into the storm. I didn't care. I was so tired, too tired, wet and cold. I didn't even care anymore what was going to happen next. What did happen, Grandpa? Worse things, he said. Terrible things. Things you wouldn't understand. Tell me about them, Grandpa, please, I begged. Very well, and I don't mind if I do, Grandpa said. I will, if you'll just turn the page. We entered the house of the ghastly ghost. That icy hand traveled fast. We zoomed over trees and dodged bolts of lightning until we came into the house deep into the forest. What a house! It was built of mud, blood, old bones, and bat wings. Here and there you could see a shin bone or a withered claw sticking out of the walls. The roof was made all out of old rat fur and dead hair. Perched on top were the bones of a long-dead alligator. I don't know, he had some kind of fetish for alligators or something. There were no doors or windows in this house. Right away, I knew that it had to be the house of a ghost. Ghosts don't need doors or windows. They use the chimney. As we started down the chimney, I heard a hollow voice wailing down below. Where is my hand? I want my sweet hand. Where are you, dear hand? See, and he was going down over there, right over there to the house. As soon as we sailed out of the fireplace, I saw her. What a fearsome sight. I got goosebumps in between goosebumps. It was a trip. She was huge, monstrous white ghost. She floated just off the floor and her hair and head nearly touched the ceiling. Her eyes and mouth were just gaping, black holes in her shroud. Her hair was ragged and squiggly. Beside her stood a giant werewolf, or some kind of big canine, snarling and snaffling. His hair bristled like a bed of nails, and his nasty yellow eyes searched me from head to toe like I was some kind of beefsteak or something. He showed me his long, sharp teeth and his fiery red tongue. I didn't like them. I mean, who would, right? The ghost lifted up an empty sleeve and whispered, Come, hand, I need you, darling, come to me. Hee. The hand floated to the sleeve and slipped into place. It made a kind of a squishy noise. Then the ghost lifted me up to the horrible black holes that were her eyes. You are a darling boy. You shall be my very own sweet baby. She moaned and kissed me. This thing right here. I don't know if you can see it. Her breath smelled like the wind that blows from a cave full of bats. She hugged me close. Whew! Her shroud smelled even worse, like a toad's underwear. We floated across the room and she turned on her TV set. We'll have some fun until it's dinner. It's time for dinner. She hummed and kissed me again. Have you ever seen Ghost TV? Oh, it's a hoot. It's on channel 4.5, or what we call 4.5 now. And it was awful. I mean, it was on the Fox network. I mean, it was the worst ever. First, we looked at the open grave show. It began with a mess of moldy old ghouls popping out of their graves and stumbling over some cows. This made the ghouls angry. They all fetched axes and began to chop each other into pieces for no real reason. This went on until there was only one ghoul left standing on a pile of splintered, quivering bones and skulls, and a little bit of gore. He was declared the winner, and the lizard came out and pinned a medal on him, but his hand fell off. See? And they loved it. They loved it. Next, we looked at Mrs. Ghost's favorite program. It was about cooking and was called Feeding Phantom Faces. It opened with a big, fat, pot-bellied demon in a tall white hat. He hauled in a big iron pot and showed us how to make soup out of a dead elephant. Urgh! Then an old blue witch taught us how to fry baby toes and eyeballs and bake knuckle-bone pies. Oh, it was disgusting. While all of this was going on, a screaming banshee orchestra was playing music that sounded like truck brakes, or what we call techno. Then we saw a commercial for goblin grease. I didn't know that goblins needed grease, but I guess they do. It seems that their knees creak, and it's hard to sneak around houses with creaky knees. I guess like some Monsters Inc. kind of a thing. So they grease them up before they go spooking kids in houses. See? I don't even know if you can see this. I'm just kind of showing this. Last of all, we looked at the Harry Snuffler Comedy Hour, and I want to tell you, it was about as funny as a broken elbow, and that's not funny. You know what Harry Snufflers are? You know what they are, don't you? They're just big, hairy blobs with lots of teeth and claws and runny noses. On this program, a gang of snufflers went to school and ate up the whole second grade. One snuffler got all the laughs by saying over and over, "Who's got the ketchup? Who's got the ketchup?" Kind of like a, I'd buy that for $1. The show finished with another big laugh. The snufflers put whipped cream on the teacher and ate her for dessert. It's a laugh riot. Mrs. Ghost and the werewolf laughed and giggled so hard that the ghost dropped me. I never hit the floor, though. That friggin' stupid werewolf gobbled me up in midair. As I was sliding down his throat, I could hear Miss Ghost shouting out, "Oscar, that was naughty of you. You're such a greedy pig. You're such a hog. You know very well that boys should be cooked before eating. Their boots are they always make your stomach ache." I slid on down and tumbled into the werewolf's stomach. What a mess. I was knee-deep in possum tails, bug fur, lizard claws, and rat teeth, and the smell. Whew. And that's only what I could see, because there was no light in there. It was darker down there than the inside of a witch's hat. I couldn't find any way out. Well, there was one way out, but you don't want to know about that. I was a goner for sure. I began to think of my mom and my dad and my dog Spot. I'd never see them again. I began to bawl like a homeless little baby. I don't know why homeless, anyway. I reached for my handkerchief to dry my tears. What do you think I found in my pocket? The witch's wishbone. I prayed that it would work one more time. Bone of wishes, listen to me. At the count of 3, I want to be rocking at home with my grandson on my knee. 1, 2, 3. Block! The wishbone worked because here I am. Grandpa said, "Oh, Grandpa, is that a true story? You just made that up, didn't you?" "I don't think so," Grandpa said, "because I still have this." He finished, and in his pocket, he pulled out the wishbone. "Would you like to try it? What would you like to be? I'll wish it for you." "Not tonight, Grandpa," I said. "It's too rainy out, although I'd still do it." But I put the wishbone in my pocket, and I've still got it. One of these days, when I get brave enough, I'm going to try it. So if some night you find a goblin under your bed or a spook in the hall, come right up and shake his hand. It'll only be me. And I never heard a thing in my life except for maybe a baseball. And then that's it. That's Grandpa's Ghost Stories. So I hope you enjoyed that reading as much as I enjoyed this book. It was one of my favorites when I was a kid growing up, and I really like it now. By James Flora. This book was from 1978. This one's 1979, but the first one was in 1978. Anyway, that's it from It's Me, Rod. And I hope you enjoyed that reading. All right. Good night, all. Happy Halloween.